Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong person. And there we have it. So we will at 1 o'clock declare the meeting open and welcome everybody to the council meeting. Welcome the members, members of the public and anybody that's joining us via live stream. Welcome to today's meeting. So we will start off with the opening karakia, which will be done by Mayor Hassan.
Thank you. Just a little bit out of the normal tikanga, taking a comment from the late Efeso Collins' maiden speech, so it will be in Samoan. Ele tu whaamonga se tangata. No one stands alone, no one succeeds alone, no one suffers alone.
Nice. Thank you very much for that. Yes, very sad situation for everybody associated with them too. That was yeah, very sad, very tragic. So thank you for that. So moving on to the apologies. Do we have one from Francois? Paul, do you have Francois coming?
I think it will be an apology.
Okay. Your tender apology form, thank you very much. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you for Councillor B, Councillor Casson, thank you very much. All in favour? Thank you, carried. Declaration of interest, the register's been circulated. I know everybody's keeping an eye on that and updating it as required, so thank you for that. There are no urgent items on the agenda, so we will move on to the minutes of meetings, which is number 5 on your agenda, run sheet. So the ordinary council meeting minutes of 25 January. And we also have the emergency council meeting minutes of the 2nd of February 2024. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? And we resolve that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of January 2024 and the emergency council meeting held on the 2nd of February 2024 be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting. Do I move seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Gleed, Councillor Burden. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much for that. And I approve that my digital signature be added to the confirmed ordinary council meeting minutes of those dates, the emergency council meeting minutes of 2nd of February as well. Thank you. Now the minutes to be received from the Standing Committee, Risk and Assurance Committee minutes from the 9th of November 2023. Bear in mind we are receiving these only. Do I have a mover or seconder, please, for that? Councillor Bede, Councillor Phelps, thank you. We resolve that the minutes of the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting held on the 9th of November 2023 be received. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you, Carrie. The action list, we will proceed through to there. And Simon's already up there. Thank you very much for the action list. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, good afternoon, your worship, councillors. We have one outstanding action item, which is regards to the business case for the development of the upgrade of a council headquarters. Just to confirm, we've actually let the seismic, the geotech work to Elliott Sinclair, who will be undertaking that in the near future. If you have any further questions?
Any further questions? Any questions at all? Aside from that, Paul?
Yeah, thank you. Through your worship, regarding the extraordinary meeting over WIO, talk about that.
No, this is about the action list report.
Let's go to the minutes.
Nowhere else to be the opportunity to include.
When we
Already passed them.
You approved the minutes of the extraordinary meeting prior, so we could have.
yes, we've done it then.
If you take a question, your worship.
You happy to take it?
Comfortable with that?
Right, okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is what's our move now, given that the WIO has swung back towards the, or a large part of the Waio is running around to the south bank. So therefore the pressure is off the north bank and the sewage ponds, but should we take the opportunity to still extend it more?
So we're 75% through construction already. By the end of this week, we've almost completed that works.
Yeah.
So we, very quickly actioned as, based on the recommendation of the river engineers from Regional Council, they saw it as significant and urgent. So we're pretty well contracted and delivered to expectations.
I hope they're swift on the south bank and take the opportunity.
That's a Regional Council question.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
In between floods, they take the opportunity to patch up the stop banks that have got gaping holes in them.
I can answer that and then assure you that that discussion's already going on at this stage with the Regional District leaders. They are having that discussion and preparing a proposal for that. But as Simon said, it's the Regional Council to answer. Any further questions for Simon regarding the action list, please? No? So, I have a move on second, please, that the updated action list be received. Councillor Manera, thank you very much. Councillor Davidson, thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Sorry, carried. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the presentations. No, we don't.
Shouldn't be far away. We see 1:15. So
No, we're ahead of time. So we will move on to staff. We'll move on to staff reports. Cody's here with us. So Cody, if you'd like to come forward, please, we'll have the financial update. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. Through Your Worship, I present the financial report to the 31st of January 2024. I'll take it as read, and through Your Worship, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Cody, please. Any questions, any discussion? Wow. No points to raise? No? Cody? Thank you very much for that. Can I have a move and a seconder, please, and resolve that the financial performance report for 31st January 2024 be received? Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. Councillor Casson, all in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cody. That would be the shortest report you've had. Thank you very much. Yeah. So with that, we will bring that welcome to the board members that are here today with us. We will. I'm sorry, you're going to be striking as soon as you've actually got to sit down. We have the Western Holdings 6-month presentation. So Joanne, as chair, will speak to that report.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yes.
So I'm just checking, have the councillors had the presentation or?
Yes.
They have, and are we going to bring it up on the screen? Yes, thank you. Is it here?
Yes. Oh, sorry, for anybody who hasn't, this is Penny, our newest member to the table, Penny Coleman, West Coast girl, through and through. You'll get to know who everybody is as they.
So just work our way through the 6 months update. So this is looking backwards for the 6 months of trading from the 1st of July 2023 through to the 31st of December 2023. So here we can go through this. So just a reminder of us, this is Western Holdings, our vision and our mission statements. So they haven't changed recently, so you should be getting familiar with that. Penny, if we could go to the next page, please. And strategic priorities that we have outlined in our strategic plan, so community engagement, connection, a focus on good outcomes for Westland and working together through our strong relationships. Next page, please. So in the 6 months, this is the commentary on the 6 months that's passed. So we are strongly focused on everyone having a strategic plan and making sure they understand where they're what they're working towards, and that actually aligns with council's plan as well. Got a strong focus on maintaining our governance and looking at the conclusion of the CCO review when that time comes up. We're continuing with our open communication with council to ensure we are closely aligned. We've got the LGFA funding in place and that's given significant relief to the CCO, the trading organisations, at a time of very high interest. And we've been working through the succession planning, so Mark Rogers has taken over as chair of Westroads, and you'll meet Mark later if you haven't already. Peter Carper's continuing as a director of Westroads through to the end of this year, where he'll step down, so that's just part of his succession planning. And the very next slide, please. So this is the comprehensive statement of income for the 6 months, noting that Westland Holdings is simply a consolidation of the trading for Westroads and Destination Westland. So not a particularly good outcome in terms of $42,000 loss for that period. The two trading organisations will talk you through their individual results, and obviously those two results make up the total here for Westland Holdings. So before I hand over to the other CCOs, is there any questions? So first up, have Westroads. Mark.
Your Worship, Council, thanks for having me along. We've got a commentary up on slides that you've received earlier, so I won't run through that point by point. I'll just put a bit more context around it in terms of the detail about what drove some of those numbers. So while the bottom line profit was close to budget, there were operational variances in delivering this. There was a lack of revenue achieved in Hokitika and Christchurch. Job margins across all branches were ahead of budget, reflecting solid job management. And the lack of revenue during the period meant that employees and plant were underutilised, driving up unproductive labour and fleet costs. Plant sales contributed to other income and led to depreciation being under budget, as we rationalised our fleet following the loss of the grey maintenance contract. This offsets some of the impacts of the reduced revenue. Our ongoing commitment to debt reduction, fuelled by the uncertain economic outlook, has led to a $1 million decrease in bank debt. And looking forward to the end of the year, we start from a position largely in line with budget, based on a strengthening full workload and the expectation of continuing strong job margin delivery. We're forecasting the second half of the year profit be considerably more profitable. And on the next slide is the detailed breakdown of the trading account. Happy to take any questions on the detail.
Any questions for Mark, please?
Through Worship, is that 2.2 million under budget? Is that purely the grey improvement?
No, actually grey was effectively on budget. It's actually a decrease in Hokitika and Christchurch. So there's been both the NOC and the Western District Council maintenance contracts playing down a little bit this year. And trenching dynamics was affected because a lack of tenders came out the first 6 months of the year. Predominantly driven by the run-up to the election. And since the election, a number of tenders have been released, which we've been successful in obtaining. It's a strong tool.
Mark, going forward, you see that it will sort of keep up the momentum that you're seeing at the moment with the tenders and that coming available?
Yeah, like I say, we're very, very comfortable over in Christchurch for 6 to 8 months of workload. Greymouth is okay. Westland, we've had a strong February, March, it's looking good. It's underpinned by good maintenance workload. It's the larger construction contracts that we are short of, or have been short of. So if they come out, we'll price them. We've been successful at the tender lots and we've been going forward. If we are short, we can look at reallocating resources over to Christchurch as well if the workload is appropriate. So we're strong in a couple of places. It's uncertain just based on the tender market going forward. We've done some reforecasting based on the forward workload. We anticipate budget's 1.2, might be 800,000 at the end of the year, so still a good finish in line with last year. But that's with other teams coming out and being successful.
So contingencies going forward, if there's not a strong swing of improvement of access to tenders?
It'll be on Westland, so we will have to reallocate resources.
Thanks, Mark. Any further questions, or any questions at all for Mark, please? Discussion points?
Yeah, just a further one around the debt pay down. Obviously good to see that continuing to come down. Is there further plan to see more of that paid down this year or in the near future?
We're going to keep continuing to pay down debt, but cash flow is cash flow, with free cash flow, absolutely.
Anything? Yes.
Just when you talk about reallocating resources, you're talking about human resources?
Yeah, we're talking about sending crews over the hill to do work, if there's more work there. And that's the advantage of having depots.
Okay.
And if we can increase the workload, resourcing up and hiring the staff.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything further for Mark, please? No? Gosh. Thank you very much, Mark, for that. Greatly appreciated. No further questions on that. We will move to, who wants to be next? Chris, Destination Westland. Thank you and welcome.
Councillors, nice to be here. So I'll work through some of the thing. You'll read the pack, and I'll take questions as we go through. But the wild foods is well organised and ready to go. Ticket sales are good, and all we're hoping for is some good weather again, so that'll be useful. We're really starting to, as a board and as Chief Executive as well, taking a look at the business around how do we reshape ourselves away from profit for social and more towards profit. So we've done some initial work on that, nothing to share yet, but we've done some thinking, so we're starting that work. There's definitely been a decent increase in aviation. You'll see the number of people that are over here. The heliport's been good, but it also is weather dependent, but has been better, which is good. And as I said, we're 6 months to date. It's looking back surplus of 32, which is actually 32,000, which is actually really good compared to last year. A lot of it's come from the upswing in some of our revenue in aviation and really making sure we control the costs through the last 6 months. So pretty happy with that result. And that's the detail of the numbers. So happy to take some questions.
Questions, Councillor Collette.
Through the Chair, just is there anything you can share, an update or plans in terms of the housing, in terms of its importance in the business and going forward?
We've got a good focus on property, but I think the council is also thinking about particularly pensioner housing and the wider social housing side. We were really only focused on pensioner housing. We released our new units and filled them up, but we haven't probably really focused on the house. Just based on where our business is at the moment, we don't have a lot of capacity to invest a lot in that at the moment.
Yes, Paul.
The heliport experience mentioned has improved, also weather dependent, obviously with low cloud cover they can't up. But how's it tracking against budget? Because it's been a pretty good tourist season.
I think we're ahead of budget really, and we haven't got that all on. Sort of about just on, just on budget. It is, as I said, we've got enough people around, but we can't fly all the time, so that's the main challenge for that. But it's a hell of a lot better than a few years ago, that's for sure. We've seen some decent growth in numbers, which is awesome. We did factor into the budget growth as well, so.
The administration expenses are up 120 grand. The bottom line is moved plus 7,000.
I don't know if I want to get too much into the detail around the administration costs, do we, Mel? But if you don't mind.
It's quite a jump.
It is, I think it's more around I won't say anything, I know it is, but
So the admin cost, that's actually an overarching operating cost. It's just the wording of it as administrative. It's not administration. And it's purely just the way the allocation of between the operating administrative expenses and the split around service delivery costs and occupancy costs. So that's the way some of them are split across some of the departments as well. So if we've spent more time in, say, swimming pool management, or less time in swimming pool management, that cost there sort of gets allocated more across service delivery, and that's where that comes up.
Administration is a bit misleading on what it
It is, yeah, it is very misleading. It's a conversation we have every time that word comes up, because it's not actually administrative expenses. It's how it's deemed for our annual report under those.
Having through it's under budgeted though. Budgeted 352,000. Actually ends up spending 468, so it's
Yeah.
quite.
And it's, yes, correct, and it's because it's the distribution between the admin and service delivery costs. All of the, for example, all the departmental costs related to eyesight, wild foods, swimming pool, all sit under service delivery. And so that's the overarching how some of the other costs have been allocated against the department. Say, for example, prime example, my time. If I've spent more time doing eyesight related, there would be a higher salary component of mine, for example, or other people's that has gone into service delivery costs. I haven't had to spend much time in those areas. So there's the aviation side, which doesn't go into service delivery.
You look at the wash up and the total amount, you can see pretty much there or thereabouts. So it has washed its way through in other parts.
Any further questions? Thanks, Mel, for that. Any further questions for Chris? What's the discussion? Gosh, all good. Thank you, Chris, for that. So as a conclusion to the presentation from Joanne as Chair of Western Holdings, followed through with the updated reports from Chris and Mark, respectively, with West Rose Destination Westland. The resolution is that the report be received and that Council approve the draft Western Holdings Limited 2024 to 2027 Statement of Intent, subject to amendments and or additions for inclusion in the final Statement of Intent. Okay. No, that's what I'm doing now. Those two things, so can I have a move and a seconder, please? Councillor Beard. A second, Councillor Beard. Thank you very much. All in favour? And as Councillor Kesson just pointed out, we still actually need to separate those reports, those last reports out. So regarding the 6 monthly update and presentation for the three, can I just have a move and a second, please, so that we receive those reports? Councillor Beard, thank you very much. Councillor Manera, again, all in favour? Thank you. So it's those reports respectively received. Thank you very much, everybody, for that and for your time. Greatly appreciated. Next, we have the Hokitika Museum Redevelopment Report, and Lorraine is here. If you'd like to come forward, thank you, Lorraine, as Museum Director. Speak to your report.
So the report was sent through, and now it's just a matter of signing it off if you have any questions.
Right, questions please. Any comments around the table? Sorry, oh, I did scan, didn't see hands.
By the time we do open, of course, it'll be 9 years since the museum closed in 2016. And $4.5 million later, So the sooner we can draw this to a conclusion, the better, is all I can say on that. I am not happy with the changed layout of the museum, as I expressed last meeting, which is shrinking the size of the museum by basically a third, close to it, by losing Drummond Hall. So that's one conversation I'd like to continue. But I'd be grumpy if the dredge is moved. And secondly, if we end up with less of a museum and more of an art gallery. The emphasis must be on the museum, and I'm not talking about a plinth with one artefact sitting on it. I'm talking about a museum, a well-stocked museum that truly expresses our history. And it's a real indictment on this council and previous councils that would let languish all this time. It's just, but here we are, we're on the cusp of getting our museum back, so let's do it right. But as I say, please make sure that it's the priority is on the museum, not on the pretty artwork around it. And with the $1.4 million that's required to do that, I just hope that that's finite. And that we're not faced with next year, another request comes back to the council and we're going back to the money tree, i.e. the ratepayers, and because we need a little bit more, we need to just raise another bit loan and on we go. It needs to be finite, but it does need to be done well. And so I'm supportive of the general direction. As I say, I do think we need to look at the Drummond Hall. It's increases, but it's at the expense of exhibition space.
I'll address that question first. My brief when I came on exposition was that it was the Carnegie building that would be the museum, and contact no time was the Drummond Hall, which was a part of that briefing, initial briefing. So that's mine. So the budget's been pre-approved, so it's a budget we're working to, and it has to be finalised. I understand how that's things can tend to blow up, but we're actually working at it so that it doesn't emerge. And if we get the right people with the right skills to show us what we are able to afford and to offer a really good museum experience. That's why we need to kind of invest in those people. The last thing is, yes, there will be a museum experience with an art feel, but it is about the history of Puketipera and the West Coast. Having had time now to go through the collection, there is a lot of loss in there because of just hasn't been stored in museum proper conditions. So we're facing a lot of rust. We've lost objects. We've lost all the external objects that were in the courtyard that kind of rusted beyond repair. So it's kind of using what we have and probably outsourcing a lot of loans in to kind of tell that story. So it will be a museum experience. But there's a lot of loss in the collection. And it's just the conditions of the West Coast, and they've rusted, or they've got mould, or they've got foxing.
That's really the question. So, I mean, it's sad to hear. So the sluice nozzles and the like that were out in the courtyard won't be featuring.
Some of them will go where we're working with the Industrial Museum to conserve as much of that as we can to bring it back. But there are kind of components that have just deteriorated beyond structural safety. You know, I'm not talking about the big buckets, because they'll be like some of those sluicing models, and it's stuff that you make holes in the ground with the wagons and, yeah.
Which is real funny because a lot of that came from Woodstock Back Creek, and they sat in my grandparents' yard for years before the museum opened. But it's kind of...
It's been there since the 70s though, isn't it? So it's been sitting out there in the environment for 50 years.
That's just old.
You know, I think and it is tragic, but it also tells us too that we've got matters in the hand as far as recognising those issues that are potentially there and how we mitigate those going forward. Because you've got your head around that situation and also too around whatever else is going to be impacted as we go forward, and how what best practices would be served to managing the risks of deterioration.
Through your worship, also just in terms of Drummond Hall, as Lauren has alluded to, aspects of the collection in there have also deteriorated because of the state of the roof, leaks and other such things. So in its current state, that area that's been used for display before is not suitable. It has been used to house parts of the collection. So we have got collections in there with car columns, it's been patched up to the roof, but that's the second stage in terms of bringing back to council what money we then expend on either trying to do water tightness and improvement of Drummond Hall, or what that might look like going forward. So the last thing we want to do is put collection at risk and then have to move that. But the intent all the way through is to display with the appropriate story of much of the Westland history, and to some degree some of the wider West Coast, as well, being the only museum in the whole of the West Coast that display in a way that it does tell the stories to the visitors that we hope to attract sooner rather than later.
Regarding Drummond Hall, the great hope is that the council, when the museum was closed, decided hands off with maintenance. If it had been maintained properly, then we wouldn't be in this position, and it shouldn't be maintained. But I don't imagine it would take terribly much. It's a early 1970s build. So the weather tightness is one thing. The other is, you know, I did express this last month, but I think we do need to be careful. Don't split our museum collection and end up with two museums. The museum downtown and the museum up hill. Don't want two museums there. Premier museum, and it must remain so. That's the focus.
At the start, we absolutely taken that on board in terms of discussion, particularly in the last couple of months around maintaining it.
This museum used to be the model regional museum for New Zealand. It was run extremely well. It had awesome exhibitions that changed regularly. It was, and it was run on a tight budget. And we just need to keep our feet on the ground and moving forward with this.
Thank you. Paul Pitlow.
Through your worship, I'm just keen to explore the October 2025 scheduled opening date. Is there no way that can be pulled further forward? Obviously, Paul's comment is approaching 9 years of...
The workflow is on 18 months, wherever you start. It's an 18-month project from whatever date is signed on the budget signed off. And that's just giving the researchers time to do their work, do all their content, and then giving it to the next person who creates the experience, and then on to the actual physical build, and the costings and the going out.
So there's absolutely no budget in there for...
No, what we have done is we've counted in some exhibitions in Waipawa this year, starting with the food festival. So it's using the collection outside of the building and trying to create some activation of museum engagement.
And I just wanted to throw my support behind the comment Paul made earlier around the budget. It's been said multiple times around this room, but obviously there's zero appetite from this table for becoming that cap in hand in 12 to 18 months' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've had the commitment from everybody involved with that, the intention is to come in on time, within budget, which puts a lot of pressure on everybody involved, but the message has certainly been understood from council regarding that, but we're fully supportive of the work that's involved with this. We do just want to see it open and yeah.
And the bells and whistles will come from external, funding, and it won't be part of this budget.
Councillor Beattie, did you have
For your worship, just great to see it open. It's just been a long 9 years and we get that feedback. I get it from tourists and people visiting Hokitika that are working in that building. So yeah, it's great to see it reopened and definitely on budget.
Just one more comment, and which is a compliment. The idea of removing the car parks around the front of the Carnegie building to give a greater presence in the building in itself, I think is a great idea. And it really will highlight the beauty of that building. So that's a great concept.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine, very much for that. First off, resolution is that the report be received. Secondly, the council resolved to implement stage 2 and 3 of the museum redevelopment project, and that council agree to an 18-month timeframe from implementation date. Do I have a move and seconder, please? Councillor Kesson, Councillor Gillette, thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Lorraine, for that. Appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody. The next piece on the agenda is the deferral of the long-term plan. Leslie, please. Hi, Group Manager.
Actually, Councillor stated this report is for the deferral of the long-term plan. I'll assume that it's read and I'll take some questions.
Questions, please. Councillor Gillette.
Bishop, I'm just struggling. I think the only reason I can see to defer it is the uncertainty about funding the Three Water mess going forward. But in terms of the long-term plan, my feeling is that we've spent a lot of time and work on it. We should just complete it. It's not clear in the report specifically what is advantageous. It's just the covering off of some uncertainty rather than tangible.
Well, it's for a 10-year period, technically, and things are changing so much. We're expecting some big changes over the next 12 months, which we'll be able to incorporate into our plan, which will give more certainty. At the moment, things are changing almost daily, and we don't know what's going on, and it's constant mess all the time. It's very difficult to keep up with the changes. It's very difficult to keep rewriting what we've got. It's something that a lot of councils are doing. The West Coast Council are proposing to do the same. So I don't think we're alone in deferring this long-term plan. What it will mean is that we just do an enhanced annual plan. So there'll be more information in there regarding what we're going to do with our assets than we would normally do. It's only for 12 months and it's a 2-year plan rather than a 3-year, so we'll be straight back into it. So it has its positives and negatives in that respect, but certainly I think to have a document go out that's a 10-year plan that has more relevant, up-to-date and certain information is better than putting a document out there that has so many unknowns.
Just through your worship, there's a couple of other things that are still unknown for us in terms of final funding for road transport. So we won't know that until probably April, May. Obviously, the current government's reviewing the contribution towards that. At the moment, we have aspirations put forward and a budget within the LTP, but that is still yet to be quantified, whether it's actually accurate or not. And the other thing that will come into play here is the RMA changes as well in terms of what that may mean in the future. Our capital program is very heavily weighted towards water, and obviously very heavily debt loaded towards water, without knowing if there's any funding mechanism to offset that debt loading. We're just putting it there as 100% at the moment, which may not be realistic. So that's the challenge we have.
Yeah, I guess it's just frustrating that we're having to consider this, and this has been proposed by the government. I think they took the politically advantageous route and acted on what councils wanted. Councils wanted to own the assets, but they didn't have a plan on how to fix the Three Water problem. And they still haven't decided, so it is frustrating. You know, as I said, some part of me says we should just complete it, but I understand what you're saying and the problems we've got. So it's really difficult.
We still have a long-term plan, we're just in year 4 technically, that's what it will be.
Through your worship, what implications does it have for the CCO review, just given some variations with?
It doesn't have any implications.
Okay. So we can progress that program?
Well, we can still carry on with our review.
Right. But would any outcomes of that have to wait until the long-term plan is considered next year?
It actually gives us, if I'm not mistaken, it gives us a bit more space to do a lot of the work that's required. Is it correct? Yeah. Without the pressures being that there's a lot of consultation and so forth required as well with the annual plan and where we go further, moving ahead.
Still has to be consulted on as an annual plan. We generally consult on our plans anyway, our annual plan, but if we do defer, we do have to consult anyway.
So you mentioned that the other West Coast councils are looking at
to do it, yes.
What about wider throughout the nation? Do you have any idea?
Looked. I know there's a couple that are just about to consult, so that I think they're kind of committed. But I suspect there'll be others around the country as well, but we haven't looked.
If I can, through the political campaign, there was a lot of interest shown by a lot of councils that would be a preferred option because of the confusion and the lack of confirmation of action from the new government going forward. So I would think it would have a fairly wide uptake, but the indication has certainly been there. And as Leslie said, it's really those that are already way down their consultation track of the LTP that are kind of overly committed to keep it going. But yeah, time will tell, but there's certainly a lot of people saying that, a lot of councils saying that to extend it by a year. Yes.
Through worship, I think it's a good idea to defer. The government as they're going about turning over all sorts of stones and all sorts of nasties are crawling out from under them. So it does make sense to me to defer and wait till the pool of water settles and we see what's there. But I think it's a mistake to fall into the trap to believe that this government has left behind some golden opportunity that this was magically going to fix all the problems with Three Waters and that the councils were going to be let off the hook because they had a certain way forward, because it was always going to hit us in the pocket very deeply. There is an alternative roadmap for this, which the present government made quite clear. It's just how that's going to translate into the councils. In the detail is what we're awaiting. It's not a matter of that we suddenly be left with this horrendous Three Waters problem and we don't have any way now to fund it. No, that's really political and that's what's been left behind. I'm just going to say, of course, the big cost for us is wastewater. In the future, that's the biggest. But our problems, Three Waters, if you can call them problems, pale into significance with Buller, for instance, which have got not only water problems, but also stormwater problems related to the flooding. So it's relative, and I think most councillors, I've been surprised that many councillors, to be honest, didn't grasp this opportunity.
I was just going to say I'm supportive of this, and to Jane's comment, I've heard from a number of other young active members around the country that they're looking at it. No one's fairly made the decision yet because they've got to go through the process much like this, but there is a number of others, the large number of others that are. I think it's remiss of us not to take the opportunity when central government give us something like this that is advantageous as opposed to the other way around.
I just have one other question as well, for your worship. It's not a reason for not doing it. I think on balance it's the best decision to make, but is there any risk of compounding workload into next year or anything like that, or is it really just got to be here or there anyway?
I don't think we've got the crux of the plan there,
Right.
so it will just be a case of updating figures when we know what's happening and some wording obviously around it, but it should be fine for next year. It gives us a bit more time anyway, so I think it's the better option than us pushing through.
All right, any further questions or discussion for Leslie, please? Thank you, Leslie, for that. The resolution is that the report be received and that council resolve to defer the long-term plan for 1 year and instead provide an enhanced annual plan for the year ended 30 June 2025. Do I have a mover or a seconder, please? Councillor Burton, sorry, Councillor Manera. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much for that report. Thank you, everybody. Right, significance and engagement policy. Emma, welcome to the meeting. And over to you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. I would like to take the report as read and through the Mayor ask if there are any questions.
Any questions? Ash? Councillor Kisson, sorry? Councillor Burton? No. Councillor Gillett?
No, I'm fine.
Councillor Neal? Councillor Davison, surprises.
No, thank you.
Councillor Manera? Councillor Beard? No. No. Councillor Phelps? Mr. Nedgwick?
Well, Your Worship, thank you.
No. Oh, Emma, how about that? No questions. So,
thank you. I'm glad my report was clear.
All right. Is there anything you want to add on to? Any comments you've got there that you think should be expanded on? Quite happy with that?
No.
Thank you. Right, so yet again, the resolution is that the report be received and that the significance and engagement policy be included in the annual plan for 24-25. And number 3, that following the engagement and consultation will be undertaken, inclusion of the significance and engagement policy in the annual plan 24-25 consultation process. Do I have a movement or seconder for that, please? Councillor Neal, thank you very much. Councillor Beard, thank you very much. All in favour? Thank you. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emma, very much for that. Thank you, everybody. Right, administrative resolution. Warrant of appointments.
Question on this, it doesn't give any names for those that we're warranting, or are we warranting the roles themselves?
Yes, so through the worship, through your worship. Apologies. So practice now in councils and has been for some time is that it's actually warranting for the positions rather than people, which then means that it doesn't matter who gets employed in the future. The expectation if you are employed as an animal control officer or environmental health or building officer, the delegations are always the same, and it minimises the need to continuously have to bring administrative resolutions to council. The one time for council to then review it going forward is when the full delegations manual comes to council, which is normally at the beginning of the term, and at that stage council can ask any questions in terms of procedures and what delegations mean. So these are purely the delegations and statutory required for people to be able to conduct their jobs. The reason these have come forward is there have been some changes in some of the tasking, and that we've had a new person appointed for the after hours, which is the ranger role, so it's enabled us to tidy up some of those warrants, which is why you also see reissued in 3 of them.
If I may, through worship, thank you for the clarification. Does that differ from the likes of the freedom camping or whatever correct title is for that, for those roles. They seem to be named last and that through.
They're named in the sense that they're not employees of staff, it's through a contractor service, so that anyone who's not an employee of staff would definitely be named in the warrant.
Thank you.
And if I could just have clarification from Di, please. So I need to go through each of those points regarding the statutory appointment.
Through you, Chair, just the first 6 bullet points.
I need to read those out, not the other 4 over the page.
Through you, Chair, just again.
The highlighted pieces. Okay. So before we move the second, resolve that we confirm the seal being affixed to the following documents. First off, we're talking about the Environment Health Officer. Statutory appointment is 1, an Environment Health Officer pursuant to Section 28 of the Health Act 1956. Point 2, a Licensing Inspector pursuant to Section 197 of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012. Point 3, an Authorised Officer pursuant to Section 174 of the Local Government Act 2002. 4, an Enforcement Officer pursuant to Section 177 of the Local Government Act 2002. 5, an Enforcement Officer pursuant to Section 38 of the Resource Management Act 1991. And 6, an Enforcement Officer pursuant to Section 229 of the Building Act 2004. Do I need to cover 7 to 10, Di? No. Then we move on to the Animal Control Officer. Statutory appointment 1, an Authorised Officer pursuant to Section 174 of the Local Government Act 2002. Point 2, an Enforcement Officer pursuant to Section 177 of the Local Government Act 2002. 3, a Dog Control Officer pursuant to Section 11 of the Dog Control Act 1996. 4, a Dog Ranger pursuant to Section 12 of the Dog Control Act 1996. 5, a Pound Keeper pursuant to Section 8 of the Impounding Act 1955. So that was an Animal Control Officer. The Animal Control Ranger, again reporting to the Group Manager. Statutory appointment 1, an Authorised Officer pursuant to Section 174 of the Local Government Act 2002. 2, an Enforcement Officer pursuant to Section 177 of the Local Government Act 2002. 3, a Dog Control Officer pursuant to Section 11 of the Dog Control Act 1996. 4, a Dog Ranger pursuant to Section 12 of the Dog Control Act 1996. 5, a Deputy Pound Keeper pursuant to Section 9 of the Impounding Act 1955. And finally, we have the Compliance and Health and Safety Officer, again reporting to the Group Manager, Regulatory and Planning and Community Services. The statutory appointment authorises an officer pursuant to Section 174 of the Local Government Act 2002, an enforcement officer pursuant to Section 177 of the Local Government Act 2002, an enforcement officer pursuant to Section 38 of the Resource Management Act 1991, a dog control officer pursuant to Section 11 of the Dog Control Act 1996, 5, a dog ranger pursuant to Section 12 of the Dog Control Act 1996, and number 6, a deputy pound keeper pursuant to Section 9 of the Impounding Act 1955. So those are all the warrants this is the report is referring to. So following that, the resolution is that Council confirm its seal by being affixed to those said documents. Do I have a mover or a seconder to that, please? Thank you, Councillor Gleek, Councillor Burden. Thank you very much. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. It's quite a lot of wording in there. So with that, that is the completion of the first half of the meeting. The resolution to go into the public excluded. Can I have a mover or a seconder, please? We can resolve to move into the public excluded section. Councillor Gillette, Councillor Neal, thank you very much. So we resolve that council.
Before you put to the vote, are you advising now that from here on in will be public excluded?
Yes, we'll be adjourning the, once we've moved the seconded, we'll be adjourning for 2 minutes while we go into public excluded.
Oh, okay. I'll just make it
So the resolution is that council move into the public excluded section at 1:55 p.m. and we thank everybody in attendance and the viewers watching online, and thank you, Sue, for joining us today.